What's good, creative fam? Brandon Washington here, and yes, we are taking a look at what is in my real estate camera bag specifically for luxury listings. Starting off with the camera itself, that is going to be this guy here. This is the Red Komodo 6K. Now, I know what probably some of you guys are already thinking, is this a little overkill for a luxury real estate listing? I mean, let's face it, this camera is over $6,000 by itself. And you know what? I honestly think that you might be a little right there. This might be a bit overkill, but I do think that there are certain listings that can benefit from a camera of its stature. For example, this camera has no rolling shutter because it has a global shutter. Another big benefit of this camera is really just the overall design of it. Because of its build, it's very easy to throw this on a gimbal and be able to move throughout the house and get amazing shots. That plus the dynamic range, and of course having the red raw means you have so much flexibility in post that you can pretty much guarantee that your image is going to look stunning. And when you're shooting luxury real estate, you have no choice but to make sure that your images are stunning, because these houses are going for millions and millions of dollars. So it's important that you have a video that showcases the house in its best possible nature. And I can also tell you that the real estate agents are looking for premium. So it's nice to have a premium camera on set. Now, that's just a few of the reasons why I actually personally like shooting luxury real estate with the Red Komodo. But before we jump into the lenses and the rest of the gear, let's quickly thank today's video sponsors.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Today's video is sponsored by Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock is a place where creative professionals can share and license their work to millions of potential buyers. And for filmmakers, now is the perfect time. With vertical video on the rise, there's no better time to start selling vertical video along with your normal videos and your photos. The best part about licensing your footage through Adobe Stock is literally it makes your videos start working for you. So you can be making money even while you're sleeping. So whether you're a full-time, part-time, or hobbyist filmmaker, now is the perfect time to start allowing your footage to make some money for you. Be sure to use the links down below in the description to sign up and start making money today. Now, when it comes to lenses, I like to go with this guy here. This is the Zine 14mm. Now, this thing does have a aperture range of 3.1 to 22, and that is in t-stops. And personally, I just love how sharp and beautiful this lens is. But for those of you guys who are a bit more familiar with the Komodo, you might be thinking to yourself, well, the Komodo is a super 35mm sensor, which is slightly cropped compared to full frame. And even with a 14 on, that's really not that wide. And so in order to make this combo really work, I actually have to use Canon's very own speed booster adapter. Now this is their 0.71 speed booster, and this actually gives me a couple major benefits. For one, this does get this super 35mm sensor closer to full frame. So this 14mm lens really ends up being closer to like a 15 to 16mm lens. And then on top of that, you're also gonna gain a couple stops of light thanks to that speed booster. So full transparency, the Komodo is not super great in low light, so it is nice to have that extra light coming in through the speed booster. So with this camera, this speed booster, and this lens, I'm able to get some really stellar shots that have fantastic dynamic range, and I never really worry about it being too dark for this system. Now, when it comes to gimbals, this is my go-to setup. Now, this looks like a lot, but it's really not that much, and it's actually a fairly simple setup overall. At the heart of it is the DJI Ronin RS2. Now, I do know that DJI did come out with the RS3, which is a Pro, which I have not yet upgraded to. I have got a chance to use it and play around with it, thanks to my good friend Josh Yo, and I absolutely love it. It was so much fun to actually shoot with that gimbal, and I can confirm today that the RS3 Pro does work with all the different Tilta accessories, which we're going to get into some of those accessories here in just a second. But I will say that for my real estate use, I like to use the RS2. And personally, this is kind of the configuration that I like to run it in. Now, you'll notice that I have the ring here, and this ring is part of the Tilta DJI system, and it works really great with the DJI ecosystem. It's absolutely fantastic. Up top, I have a couple D-tap ports, as well as down here on the bottom, I have a V-mount battery plate. So that way I can actually power the entire system using V-mount batteries. And then I can also use these ports here at the top to attach accessories to, like monitors and things like that. And I can also get power from those monitors via USB or through D-tap. So it is a great system overall, and I do like using it. I find that it is very, very stable, especially with having the Komodo and everything all rigged together. I do find myself from time to time switching up this setup. Like as of right now, I have this rigged in this tilter ring setup, but there are some times I'll actually go with the DJI Sidearms, and I will rig the camera to that Titan base battery. And the thing I love about this is just how versatile this setup is. And the more versatile setup, the more ways I can actually ensure that I'm getting the shots I need to get because my gear is not getting in the way. Now, I do like the Tilta setup here, but one huge caveat, Tilta also makes their own set of sidearms for the DJI system, and I made a video about those a while back. And in that video, I mentioned that I didn't like how it kept slipping on one of the areas. And if you are someone who is thinking about getting sidearms for your DJI, whether that is your Ronin RS2 or even the RS3, then I strongly recommend going with the DJI proprietary. I do recommend going with the DJI proprietary ones because they absolutely work fantastically, where the Tilta ones never really worked that great for me. So maybe steer clear of those. So now when it comes to monitoring what the Komodo is actually putting out, I like to do that on this guy here. This is the Portkeys BM5. Now, the red Komodo does have a screen on top, but it's never really in a good visible location. So going with the BM5 is fantastic for a couple reasons. One, I can actually just, using a ball head, actually move it around and be able to see. The other big reason is the BM5 does have wireless control, so you can set up wireless control with this guy to be able to control your actual Komodo, including start and stop. Honestly, it's just a really great monitor. Even outdoors in bright daylight, the BM5 does fantastic. I've talked about this in other videos, but it's still my go-to monitor for the Komodo. So this is the DJI Mavic 3 Cine. This has been a nice upgrade to the Mavic Pro 2. I decided to go with the Cine version, not only because it came with some extra batteries, which are always helpful, although I will say the battery life on this thing is absolutely stellar. You probably don't even need 3 batteries to shoot, especially not real estate, but for most jobs, 3 batteries are going to be plenty, probably overkill. But the big reason why I actually went with this model was because I also wanted to get the controller that had the built-in screen. For the longest time, I just used my phone as my monitor, but I would always get into situations where my phone wasn't fully charged, or I just needed to take a phone call, or I wanted to listen to music while I was flying the drone, different little things like that. And so I kept running into situations where I just would love to have my monitor be built into my controller. So when I picked up this drone, that's exactly what I chose to go with. As far as quality goes, it's way above whatever you might think you'll need. Personally, I think that DJI is kind of in a class of their own when it comes to drones at this point. There really is no secondary competition that's really pushing them, but they don't really need to be pushed because they're pushing themselves. I mean, they are releasing non-stop stellar drones one after another, and so this is definitely my go-to drone when it comes to shooting real estate. I don't see that changing in any time soon. When it comes to carrying all this gear to go shoot real estate, especially luxury listings, I don't actually use a camera bag. I use this guy here. This is the Pelican Air 1535. Now, if you want to save your back, this is the way to go. You know, as videographers, filmmakers, content creators, we are constantly on the go, having to lug around tons of gear, and putting that on your back, moving from house to house or from job to job, can really start to wear on you. So I strongly recommend, when you can, invest in some Pelican cases. Being able to roll your gear around is not only going to save your back, but also just protects your gear better. I mean, this thing is waterproof, it's drop proof. It's better for you and for your gear. And so I strongly recommend investing in some Pelican cases when carrying around all your equipment. And the last thing that's a part of my luxury listing kit is a simple pair of headphones. In my case, I like to go with the AirPods, and that's just because when you're filming in these houses, it's typically pretty boring and it's, there's no one talking, there's nothing to do other than film. And so listening to a podcast or listening to music can kind of just help get you through those shoots. So I like to have a pair of AirPods and just make sure that I can listen to something, which just helps the job go by a lot faster and it makes it a little bit more fun. Now, you don't need all this gear to shoot listing videos. In fact, actually, I made an entire training course showing you how you can actually shoot luxury listing videos just using a phone or even just using a basic DSLR or mirrorless camera. But I did want to show you guys the type of gear that I take out whenever I'm shooting those more higher priced homes here in the Houston area. Now, one thing that's really interesting is, as I mentioned, with that training course that I did create, you can currently get that over on the creativefilmacademy.com. But I'm excited to sort of announce, and this is sort of a sneak peek announcement, that we actually just upgraded the entire platform, which means now there are a lot of cool benefits. I'll go over more of those in a future video, but for the sake of right now, I just want to tell you a couple of the ones that especially benefit you if you are interested in shooting real estate video. As I mentioned before, we have that real estate course, which in the past has only been able to be offered in a fixed priced model, but now I'm excited to announce that you can even just rent the course at a much significantly cheaper price. Now, that being said, we can also continue to upgrade this. So if you choose to buy the course, then you will always get access to those upgrades. And one of the big upgrades that we just made to this course specifically is I just added 2 new job shadows to the real estate video masterclass. So now you can actually go on a job with me. And this is a raw job shadow. This is just like if you were there with me the day of. I'm going to walk you guys through the house, show you how I'm getting the shots, literally figuring out the shots in real time. And you guys are going to get a chance to go along that journey too. So if you're interested in learning how I shoot real estate video, then I definitely recommend you check out those links down below in the description, because I'll have that information there as well. But yep, this is all the gear that I use to shoot my luxury high-end real estate videos. If you guys have any questions about any of this gear, definitely leave those in the comments down below. I'll also have links to all this gear down in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.